The public education system in the United States has always been unique. This is due to a myriad of reasons. For such a large country to not have a national standard for public schooling poses a lot of challenges and has given rise to one of the most monolithic and complicated bureaucracies in education worldwide. The public school system works differently from state to state and is more or less entirely funded by the parent state alone. Less than 2 cents on the dollar of education funding comes from the federal government. Due to this, funding for schools primarily comes from the property taxes in a given area, which means that poorer areas do not have access to quality education, and parents who know this are completely unable to place their child at another public school. The number one factor when it comes to determining a child's ability to succeed in school is their family's income level. This fact is known by the government, and attempts have been made to address it with varying degrees of success. However, we still run into the issue of low federal spending on education and vastly different systems from state to state. In 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson passed the Elementary and Secondary Act, or ESA. This act was part of his War on Poverty campaign. Later, in 2002, President George W. Bush would sign into law the No Child Left Behind Act, or NCLB. It was essentially a reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Act. However, this time it was changed significantly. NCLB's goal is to close the achievement gap with accountability, flexibility, and choice so that no child is left behind. U.S. Woods 2, Department of Education 2014. Prior to the No Child Left Behind Act, ESA was reauthorized 7 times before, but was left nominally the same, when the federal government provided more financial assistance to schools serving children in lower income areas. However, President Bush sought to revamp the act and hold schools accountable for the quality of education they delivered, while promising to provide more assistance than ESA previously did. However, this is where the cracks start to form. In a country with vastly different educational systems from state to state, how does a federal agency properly evaluate the performance of schools all across the country, which operate using different metrics, systems, and curriculum? Well, the short answer is they don't. And the long answer is a bit more complicated. The solution to this problem, in the eyes of the federal government, was to institute single yearly high-stakes tests, which were designed to be one-size-fits-all, and I've previously covered why this is not possible. In 2013, fewer than half of the nation's public school students scored at or above proficiency levels for reading and mathematics. This comes from the National Center for Education Statistics 2013A. So, with these tests, schools would be evaluated to see if they were making progress towards their achievement goals. However, these achievement goals in the eyes of the federal government were measured and tracked using the metrics from top-performing schools. Such an approach does not take into account unique circumstances from place to place and family to family. To make matters worse, subgroup considerations were not made. NCLB defines subgroups as students who are in special education, English language learners, racial minorities, and/or disadvantaged children. This comes from Klein 2014b. So, for this test-based evaluation, special needs students and students in special education programs were measured with the same test without any adjustment. Furthermore, scores in one state would be considered good enough to keep funding and reach achievement goals, but the same scores in other states were found lacking, and the schools faced sanctions for not meeting goals. This comes from Maleko 2011. If a school didn't meet their achievement goals for 2 consecutive years, they would be faced with sanctions. This is where the policy affects students and teachers. These sanctions included restructuring of the staff, which meant that many veteran teachers in struggling districts were fired or transferred. Now, the administration has no choice but to hire novice teachers, only exacerbating the original issues and making it so the school falls further and further away from its achievement goals each year. This created a negative feedback loop and put a school into a death spiral, only making the issues that No Child Left Behind attempted to address worse. Although given bipartisan support and passed with the best intentions, No Child Left Behind hurts the very students it sought to help the most. Without more inclusive and situational evaluations, the system will never work. Teachers lose their jobs, and students in these primarily low-income areas go through teacher after teacher as they are continually restructured. The policy had the best intentions, but to accomplish the goal it set out for itself, it has in doubt failed. A remedy to the present situation facing our schools is to increase funding for schools and to not forget the arts.